In this video I guarantee you there will be a lot of F1 stats you did not know about, so without wasting any of your time, let's start. Starting off with total starts. In a tight place for P4 we have Michael Schumacher and Jenson Button. In P3 we have Rubens Barrichello. In second place we have Fernando Alonso, and if he completes the 2022 season he will take P1 away from Kimi Raikkonen. Moving on to youngest driver to start a race. In P3 we have Lando Norris, P2 Lance Stroll, and in P1 we have Max Verstappen. Moving on to most consecutive race starts. In P3 we have Nico Rosberg, P2 Daniel Ricciardo, and in P1 Lewis Hamilton. Most races with a single constructor. In P3 we have Kimi Raikkonen with 151 starts for Ferrari. And in P2 we have Lewis Hamilton with 178 starts for Mercedes. And in P1 Michael Schumacher with 179 starts for Ferrari, a record that he can lose in 2022. Now going on to total wins. We have Ayrton Senna in P5 with 41 victories. In P4 we have Alain Prost with 51 wins. P3 we have Sebastian Vettel with 53 victories. P2 we have Michael Schumacher with 91 wins. And in P1 we have Lewis Hamilton with 103 victories. Most wins in a season. A tight first place we have Michael Schumacher with 13 victories in 2004 and Sebastian Vettel with 13 victories in 2013. Going on to most consecutive wins. In P1 we have Sebastian Vettel with 9 wins. Youngest winners in F1. In P3 we have Charles Leclerc, in P2 we have Sebastian Vettel, and in P1 we have Max Verstappen. Most races before a first win. In P3 we have Rubens Barrichello taking 123 races before he got his first win. P2 is Mark Webber taking 130 races, and P1 Sergio Perez taking 190 races but got it in 2020. Most races without a win. We have Martin Brundle in P5, in P4 we have Roman Grosjean, P3 we have Nico Hülkenberg, he's also the only driver in the top 5 not to have a podium. In P2 we have Nick Heidfeld, and in P1 we have Andrea de Cesaris. Most wins in the same GP, we have a tied first place with Michael Schumacher and Lewis Hamilton both with 8. Okay, so this is our last win stat. We have most consecutive seasons with at least one win. We have Michael Schumacher again tied with Lewis Hamilton in P1 with 15 seasons. In the pole positions, small pole positions. In P3 we have Ayrton Senna with 65 poles. That was 40.12% of all his races, which is an insane percentage. In P2 we have Michael Schumacher with 68 poles, and in P1 we have Lewis Hamilton with 103 poles. Most consecutive pole positions is held by Ayrton Senna. It is 8 in a row. Pole positions in a season is Sebastian Vettel with 15 poles in 19 races. Nigel Mansell is in P2 with 14 poles in 16 races. Youngest pole sitter. In P5 we have Lando Norris, in P4 we have Max Verstappen, in P3 we have Fernando Alonso, P2 Charles Leclerc, and P1 Sebastian Vettel. Most races without a pole position is Sergio Perez with 213 starts. Let's go to fastest laps. With total fastest laps we have Kimi Raikkonen with 46 fastest laps in P3. In P2 we have Lewis Hamilton with 59. And in P1 we have Michael Schumacher with 77 fastest laps. Most fastest laps in a season is held by Kimi Raikkonen and Michael Schumacher with 10. The youngest driver to have set a fastest lap is Max Verstappen in 2016 Brazilian GP. Going to podiums. Total podiums. In P3 we have Sebastian Vettel with 122. In P2 we have Michael Schumacher with 155, and in P1 we have Lewis Hamilton with 182 podiums. Most podium finishes in a season is Max Verstappen with 18 in the 2021 season. Michael Schumacher is the only driver that got a podium each race of the season, getting 17 podiums in 17 races in 2002. Most consecutive podium finishes. In P3 with 15 we have Fernando Alonso, P2 Lewis Hamilton with 16, and in P1 Michael Schumacher with 19. Max Verstappen is the youngest driver to score a podium finish. Most races without a podium is Nico Hülkenberg with no podiums after 179 starts. Most races before scoring a podium is held by Carlos Sainz Jr. at 101 races. Moving on to points, total career points for each driver under the current point scoring system. In P5, Kimi Raikkonen, P4, Fernando Alonso, P3, Sebastian Vettel, P2, Michael Schumacher, and in P1, Lewis Hamilton. Most point scoring racers is Lewis Hamilton with 249 points finishes. Highest average points per race, in P3, Sebastian Vettel, P2, Max Verstappen, and in P1, Lewis Hamilton. A crazy stat for this category is P10, Manuel Fangio, averaging 5.44 points, and this points has not been adjusted, so he used the old point scoring system. Youngest driver to score points is Max Verstappen at 17 years and 180 days old. Most points without a win is held by Carlos Sainz. Most career points without being a world champion is Valtteri Bottas at 1,738 points. The world champion with the fewest amount of points is Phil Hill with 98 points. Most races without scoring a point is held by Nicola Larina at 44 races. Most race finishes in a tied P4 we have Michael Schumacher and Sebastian Vettel with 237 races. In P3 we have Lewis Hamilton with 260, P2 Fernando Alonso with 265, and in P1 we have Kimi Raikkonen with 278 finishes. Lewis Hamilton has the record for most races that he led every lap at 23 races. With most laps led, we have Sebastian Vettel in P3 with 3,499 laps. In P2 we have Michael Schumacher with 5,111, and in P1 we have Lewis Hamilton with 5,396 laps in the lead. Wins and poles in the same race. In P3 we have Sebastian Vettel, he got 31, in P2 we have Michael Schumacher, he got 40, and in P1 Lewis Hamilton with 61. Max Verstappen keeps the record for youngest driver to get a Grand Slam. Drivers with the most championships. In P3 we have Juan Fangio with 5, and in P1 we have a tie between Michael Schumacher and Lewis Hamilton, both with 7 championships. Michael Schumacher holds the record for most consecutive championships at 5. Sebastian Vettel holds the record for youngest world champion. Youngest triple world champion in P3, Ayrton Senna at 31 years, in P2, Lewis Hamilton at 30 years, and in P1, Sebastian Vettel at 25 years. Most races left in the season when becoming a world champion is held by Michael Schumacher at 6 in 2002. Most consecutive races as championship leader is also held by Michael Schumacher at 37. Drivers' Championships, one with the most constructors, was won by Juan Fangio at Ferrari, Mercedes, Alfa Romeo and Maserati. Most leader changes in a Drivers' Championship in a season is 10, it was in 2010. Longest time between first and last win is held by Kimi Raikkonen with 5,691 days, that's 15.5 years. Alain Prost holds the record for most pit stops in a single race. He did 7 pit stops in a single race. Most pit stops by a winning driver in a single race. Jenson Button went to the pits 6 times and still won the Canadian GP in 2011. The driver that got a penalty the fastest starting their F1 career is Sebastian Vettel. 9 seconds after starting he was caught speeding in the pit lane. Most races as teammates is held by Rubens Barrichello and Michael Schumacher with 104 races. Furthest distance driven in F1 is held by Kimi Raikkonen and it's 92,636 kilometers. And our last stat, most position gained in a race, is held by Jim Rathman at 30, going from 32nd to 2nd. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.